Today on Platts Energy Week, forcing gas from shale, one company's alternative to fracking. Then, is there a carbon tax in America's future? One prominent conservative says yes. But first, the smallest state in the U.S. aims to be the biggest in offshore wind power. You're watching Platts Energy Week, your independent source for energy news.
Hello, I'm Bill Loveless, and welcome to Platts Energy Week. It may be the smallest state in the Union, but Rhode Island has some big ambitions when it comes to offshore wind power. The ocean state already has one project in the works in state waters and hopes to land another in federal waters off its coast. But Rhode Island and New England have long histories of resistance to energy development, raising the question of whether wind power can really take hold in the region. I discussed this on Capitol Hill with the senior senator from Rhode Island, Democrat Jack Reed. Senator, welcome to the program.
Thanks very much, Bill. Pleasure.
Senator, is Rhode Island ready to embrace offshore wind power? You know, we've seen 10 years of controversy over the Cape Wind project off the Massachusetts coastline. Do the same sort of tensions exist in your state?
Well, they're the same critical issues of balancing environmental quality, protecting fishing grounds, also making sure that aesthetically it works. But Rhode Island is better positioned because they've done a lot of homework.
How is that?
Under the Coastal Resource Management Commission, and Grover Fugate's been the executive director for years, they've been conducting a mapping problem, the SAMP they call it, and they have been studying all of the environmental effects, the effects on fishing, and they have the analysis, the thorough analysis to begin a careful, balanced review of actual projects. And so we're ahead, I think, and because they took the time and the effort to do the science first and not just talk about the potential for, energy production. Also, there are two areas where Rhode Island has focused. One is in state waters off of Block Island, where a company is proposing to put in 6 or so wind towers.
That's the deep.
That's the deep water proposal. But that is moving along. And in fact, it would provide some real benefits to Block Island. They now generate all their power with a diesel generator.
Right.
So they would displace that, which is good environmentally. But the analysis, I'll emphasize again and again, the thoughtful analysis going back several years, and we helped this project with about roughly $700,000 of federal funding so they could do the science right. That has put us in a position that we have a scientific basis to make very careful judgments about balancing environmental quality, commercial activity, and energy production.
Well, in Massachusetts, the critics of Cape Wind, and there were some prominent ones, including one of your former colleagues, Senator Ted Kennedy, saw the wind farm as an intrusion on this treasured coastline. And so have you heard similar concerns from folks in Newport, Narragansett, other towns that overlook the
Well,
bay?
we have, I think, learned from that process that the physical positioning of these towers, their proximity, and also that this has to be done in a participatory way, that people who will be directly affected, property owners who might see it, fishing men and women who might have the fishing grounds impacted, have to have a real voice in this, not just a perfunctory voice, but a real voice in it. And they've done that in Rhode Island to, I think, a significant degree. And part of it is learning, frankly, from the experience of Cape Wind, what to avoid and how to do the analysis and the public participation in a better way.
New England, Rhode Island and the rest of New England have a history of opposing energy projects, liquefied natural gas, nuclear energy, offshore oil and gas. You think offshore wind may be different?
I think it may be different. One, because of all of this analysis I've spoken about. Two, because people have become aware of the need to become less reliant upon foreign resources, and also up our way there are much more sensitivity to the environmental impact of some of these fossil fuels. Again, we've seen some remarkable progress over the last several years in terms of American production, and that is helping us. But longer term, we have to recognize that we have to have a blend of different fuels, and wind energy, particularly offshore wind energy, could be one of these fuels. Not the sole source of energy, but a major contributor both environmentally and commercially.
The state suffers from a high unemployment rate,
Right.
around 11%, one of the highest in the country. Can offshore wind provide the same sort of an industrial base that you saw years ago in Rhode Island with the jewelry industry, with the textile industry?
Well, we've taken steps, we hope, again, to prepare the way so that we've laid the foundation so that this wind energy, not just off Rhode Island and Massachusetts, up and down the Atlantic coast, the fabrication can be done at Quonset Point, Rhode Island. Through the
former Navy base.
The former Navy base there, we secured about $22 million under the American Recovery Act to provide infrastructure. We've just, a few weeks ago, we were there when they opened, if you will, if the right term, the new crane, which can service the facilities. But the nature of this offshore wind production, these are huge, huge, heavy turbines and blades that have to be assembled as close to the water's edge as possible. And Quonset Point is ideally suited to do that. We've now built up the infrastructure so it's ready. So we feel very good not only about actually deploying wind offshore to generate energy, but doing the fabrication at Quonset Point, Rhode Island. It's the one logical place in the Northeast where you have pre-existing facilities ready to go. And this will provide, we hope, the kind of jobs for not just advanced degree recipients, scientific research, but for people who are good with their hands, who can fabricate things, they can bend metal, and this is the kind of jobs with good benefits that we hope we can generate at Quonset Point.
The state has a renewable portfolio standard, one that requires it to receive 16% of its electricity from wind, solar, other renewables by 2019. How important is that regulation to development of these wind towers and state waters, offshore, and federal waters?
Well, I think without that kind of policy approach, people wouldn't be looking as seriously at alternate energy, including wind. And I give credit both to state leaders and to the major utilities, particularly National Grid, because they have been collaborating, cooperating with our PUC to develop these approaches, and have been very aggressive in terms of not just alternate energy, but demand reduction. And those are the smart ways to begin to deal with the energy situation here in the United States. So I think it's important. There's another important aspect. That's production tax credit for wind products.
It expires at the end of the year. We've got about 30 seconds. Anything new on whether that's likely to be extended?
We are working very hard to get that extended. We have TPI Industries, which is a great producer of wind turbine blades. They're beginning to see a slowdown in work because, in fact, this credit would expire. We're working hard to get it extended.
Senator Jack Reed from Rhode Island, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.